Hi, welcome to the podcast for Chapter 7. I'm calling this 7A because we're going to focus really on the first three learning objectives which deal with flexible budgets. So I want to start with this learning objective on static budgets. So the basic concept behind variances and what we'll be doing in the next couple chapters. First of all, variance is just the difference between the actual amount and what we expected or what we budgeted to have happen. The concept of management by exception is the practice of focusing on the areas that are not operating like we had anticipated. And the static budget is really just the master budget. So it is what we had planned for the period. So everything we did in the prior chapter where we're dealing with or we were creating a master budget, that's really the same thing as a static budget. So a static budget variance, which we're going to call level 0. And each level we understand why the variance happened a little bit better. This is just the difference between the actual amount and the corresponding static budget amount. If the variance is favorable, then it means that impact of that difference increased our operating income. And if the variable, if it's an unfavorable variance, then it means that difference caused a decrease in our operating income. So variances start out at the top with a level 0 analysis. This is the highest level of analysis, and it doesn't tell us very much. Level 0 analysis tells us nothing more than the difference between our actual amount and our static budget operating income. So when we further decompose or break down level 0, we can do that into progressively smaller components. So level 0 tells us how much we were off. Level 1, 2, and 3, which get in more detail, tell us where and why we were off. So this illustration, I'll let you, you can kind of pause and look at this. We're going to work through this data through really all of the Chapter 7 podcasts. So if it's something you want to write down, if you want to pause this and write it down, you can. And I'm going to keep referencing back to it, but just an idea. These were our variable cost per unit. We're selling jackets. We have fixed costs. We planned on selling the jackets for $120 per jacket. We thought we were going to sell 12,000 jackets. We actually only sold 10,000 jackets. So that's the data we're going to use and to try to figure out, how that affected our net income, or excuse me, our operating income. So our level 0 analysis, and these numbers are just given to us in the problem, but we had originally budgeted our operating income to be $108,000. It actually ended up being $14,900. So we end up with a static budget variance of $93,100 unfavorable, less operating income than what we had planned. And we can see that here. So again, the level 0 is just the difference between that, and you can see that amount there. Level 1 then looks at each individual line item. So we started with our units sold. We thought we were going to sell 12,000. We only sold 10,000. So we have a 2,000 unfavorable variance. The difference between our revenue is unfavorable. The difference in our costs are favorable. Now I want you to think about that for a second. If we thought we were going to sell 12,000 units, we would have built our costs around 12,000 units. If we actually sold 10, then shouldn't our variable costs be favorable? They should be. And by the way, that really makes this stand out. How did we manufacture and sell 2,000 fewer coats, and yet our labor costs were higher than what we had planned? So anyways, all of this analysis here is our level 1 analysis. It's just telling us the difference between our actual and static for all of these components. So level 0 tells us very little other than how much our operating income was off from budget. Level 1 gives us a little bit more information because it shows each line item that led to the total level 0 variance. So it shows where we were off. All right, and that is our podcast on static budgets.